Hey there, this is Mark, and here's my fantastic video about when I used to roadie for Ace Frehley of Kiss from 1993 through 1995. So let's do it! So in 1993, there was a friend of mine who had an interview booked with Ace Frehley, and because of my friendship with him, he told me where Ace would be, and he said, "You know where he is, you're on your own." So I just scoped out the parking lot of this hotel and scoped it out, was there for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I would try and say hello to anybody that had like a crew jacket on or a shirt or just something. Anyway, I stayed out there for enough hours to where eventually Ace's guitar tech and his bass player came out and kind of said, "Hey, so you waiting for Ace?" "Oh yeah, definitely." I had a bag of stuff and everything, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna go down the street and get us some burgers. You want to come along?" And I thought, there's no way that these two guys would just walk up to a stranger and invite him out. So I said, "Hey, Ace is coming, and they're trying to get me out of here, so I'm gonna stay right here." Anyway, they started walking down the street, and I don't know why, but just an impulse told me, go for it. Just go with these guys. I ended up going with them. I paid for their burgers, and they go, "Hey man, is that your white truck in the parking lot?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Come down tomorrow, take us to the beach, and we'll put you on the guest list for, for some of Ace's gigs." I'm like, "Yeah, great. Anyway, I went down there, and they were in no mood to wake up early, but I hung out, got the lay of the land. I already had tickets for Ace in town, but I got to know these guys. I befriended the crew, and through that, I eventually showed these guys that I could set up gear, and I'm a guitarist myself and everything, and I knew my way around instruments to where they let me hang around and help. And eventually the guy, it was Dean Nemeth, Ace Frehley's guitar tech at the time, the guy that made it all possible. Thank you, Dean. At the coach house in San Juan Capistrano said, "Okay, come on, I'm going to go and take your stuff to Ace to autograph. If I ask you to come over, come over." And he motioned me over, and I got to meet Ace. I said, "Ace, I'm a huge fan of your playing, and thank you so much for influencing me and all this stuff." And he said, "Cool." And anyway, long story short, I roaded for a couple of gigs on the Just for Fun tour of '93 all along the West Coast, and was told at the end of the run that, Ace said, "Hey, I hear you've been driving, the crew all over town and helping." I go, "Yeah." He says, "You're welcome back anytime." So I did. You better believe I came right back. I had people's phone numbers, and back in those days before the internet, you had to befriend the actual people who were part of the group and you exchanged info. So when he came back around, I definitely linked up with those guys again. After the Just for Fun tour was the Kick-Ass tour. And it was this time I knew the guys much, much more. I was able to relax, be myself better. They relaxed around me, and they said, "Why don't you take some photos and stuff like that?" The deal was you could take anything you wanted, just make sure we get a copy, and that Ace could use it for his Rock Soldiers fan club. Before the internet, Ace didn't have, that kind of a fan club. It was a mail order thing where you got a paper booklet or a gloss one, and it had various, updates and interviews and pictures. So I took pictures for that, and Ace appreciated it. So now, we knew each other. And from there, I got to be his little West Coast assistant when he was at the National Association of Music Merchants NAMM show that following year. He had flown out, Gibson flew him out, and he was by himself, so he didn't know anybody. So for a couple of days there, it was just me and Ace, and I took him to all of his booths, took him to his autograph signings, and we just talked about music and guitars and people we knew, records we knew, people, just tons and tons of stuff, bands we liked, what he was up to, and I would just get little tidbits and opinions of things. We would just chit-chat the whole time, so it was about 2 solid days I spent with him out there, just he and I. And that was great. That was really, really cool. He wasn't, this petty guy, in private or anything like that. He had time for everybody, signed everybody's stuff, took pictures with everybody. If any of you watching that have pictures of that, of me and Ace, that'd be great if you could send them to me. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to see that stuff. He would share with me just, thoughts on music he liked. We'd talk about the Stones or the Kinks, or, the Who, the music he grew up with, the music we still liked. And then we'd go to booths like Guitar Player or Guitar World, and we'd see like Eddie Van Halen, Slash, different people. And, "Hey, did you hear about this?" "Oh, I think of that." "Oh, what do you?" And he'd say, "Oh, I got this guitar." And, and I'd just get it all. People would see him that he had toured with in the past. One time we ran into Rick Nielsen, and getting to be there while those two shared their stories. I mean, that was fantastic. just real treasured moments that I was able to be a part of. I was lucky to be a part of. One of the things I always really loved about Ace is there's only one version of Ace. There isn't a now I'm grunge Ace or now I need rappers to like me. He's only that Ace, and he's that Ace all the time. It's not pedals on the floor or a magic amplifier. His sound is in his hands and his guts. You could wake him up out of a sleep at 2 a.m. and he can play Cold Gin and Shock Me, same as he did in the 70s. Getting to play those instruments and pick them up and touch them and hold them and really look at them and inspect them and see how high the nut was, the bridge was, the string gauge, how heavy or light it was, really opened up my eyes. I still have that stuff in my mind when I do my own adjustments to my guitars, and figure out how comfortable do I need it as opposed to how much power it has to give out. Playing sitting down and playing standing, especially on stage for hours and hours, it's a completely different thing than just posting YouTube clips to your buddies or something. High performance instruments like that, it's an education. It really is, especially if you're paying attention, like so many of his fans do. So many different things, I remember him saying that his daughter Monique had started, twiddling with the guitar, but she was very into bands at the time. He says, she wants me to teach her these songs by whole. I said, I can't play that stuff, I'm retarded, That was really sweet. He loved his daughter very much and would drop anything for her. No matter what was going on, he would get out his phone. Before we all had our phones. Again, this is before we had the portable phones. He had one. Was always on the phone with her, would sound check over, go to the board, talk to her. Really good dude. There's so many good qualities about him that people just don't know. He was a really honorable guy with me, and I'm really glad to share that side of him with you. I'll never forget the very first time Ace's crew trusted me with something was they wanted me to go buy cymbals, because one of the cymbals had a crack or something like that, and they didn't know where to buy some in the area, so I did it. They gave me the money and the receipt and everything, and they said, we're trusting you with this money, make sure you come back with this stuff and this or else, and I signed it for Ace's manager and everything, brought it back, and I had not yet met Ace, but when I pulled into the parking lot, I opened up my truck, and I hear on the other side of the wall, my heater's broke and I'm so tired. And, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, And they open the door and go like this, and I'm going, oh my God, this is about to happen. It still blows me away, the excitement and everything. And now here I am, all access with, my Guitar Hero, and there's nobody going, get out of here and like that. And all I had to do is just be cool and maintain, I'll always have a ton of love and respect for Ace. He is the reason I started playing guitar. He's the reason I kept playing guitar. All throughout the solo years and with Frehley's Comet, I was so impressed that he's not makeup and a costume. It's not a routine. It's not an act. He's Ace all the time. With him, what you see is what you get. He is a true disciple of Jimmy Page, Keith Richards, Pete Townsend's school of 60s rebellious rock guitar playing, and it's in every note he plays. It's what binds him to his fans, and it's what made me respond to him all those years ago and continue to.